Hey, for those who don't know me, I'm Kled the Sped. I've been playing Marvel Rivals since it launched. I'm currently Diamond 3 and I've played majority of my hours on Rocket. I'm currently Lord with Rocket and this is my Rocket guide. So for Rocket's left click, he shoots his minigun in a straight line. The bullets do have travel time, but they're pinpoint accurate. Ignore the little splashes to the left and right, they're just a visual effect. Rocket's right click shoots a bouncing projectile which heals all allies that it comes close to. It slows down when it's healing an ally and speeds up when it's not. You'll notice his right click can also heal multiple allies at the same time. This is really important when we get into gameplay later. The bouncing on his projectiles means you can heal a lot of backline divers very easily when they walk around cover. So long as you hear this sound cue, you know that you're healing them. So Rocket actually has two passives, the first one being Wild Crawl. This allows you to scale up walls and also run across them. It's very similar to Spider-Man or Venom, except you only run and you can't wall cling. It's very useful also when you're running horizontally along the walls, as you can travel a lot faster by doing this than you would otherwise be able to walking. This ability is easily one of Rocket's best abilities, and it's very impactful in gameplay when we talk about that later on, and I see it very underused by most Rocket players I see. Another little trick with it is you can use your shift while wall crawling to blast yourself in the direction that you're running, and it seems like it blasts you a lot further than your normal shift while not wall crawling would. Rocket's Shift Jetpack Dash is a pretty simple ability. It has two charges and a quick recharge time. It allows Rocket to do a short dash in any direction, vertical included. It's very useful when combined with Rocket's Wild Crawl and Flying Ace abilities to allow him to stay airborne for long periods of time. Rocket's E is a very powerful ability which drops a stationary device which deploys armor packs as well as blue packs, which we'll get to later. And also can revive an ally in place as a one-time use, and then it goes on a 40-second cooldown. You'll notice when I deploy the armor pack here, it drops armor packs in a set plus formation, and every fourth pack that it drops is a blue pack. So when you see where this blue pack lands, that's where blue packs will continue to land over and over and over every time it cycles to that point. The blue pack is very impactful. It allows you to hit space while in the air to zoom up to height limit of the map. For Rocket, this is great because you can pair this with your passive to slowly descend and stay airborne for an extremely long period of time. However, it's also useful for champs like Hawkeye, for example, who can't really get up to a lot of high places. You can use this to get them in sneaky little spots. The blue pack also lasts forever until it gets consumed, and I find it's really useful if you give one to your ally support. They can use the second double jump to break the tether of Venom right click, for example, and get themselves out of danger. Rocket's ult deploys a beacon which gives him and all his allies within the radius a massive damage boost. While we don't know the exact numbers, I'd say it's about a 40 to 50% boost based on what I've seen in practice. It's important to note that this only buffs damage, not healing, so it's good to pop during your allied healer ult so that way you can fire freely. Rocket is an anchor to one of the most powerful team-ups in the entire game in my opinion. This team-up gives Rocket an added ability to throw a device which allows Punisher and Bucky to have infinite clip size as well as improved fire rate while within the radius. When you pair this team-up with your ultimate, the enemy team gets absolutely obliterated by the damage Punisher and Bucky can output. So Rocket actually has two team-ups, and his second team-up is with Groot, and it allows Rocket to ride Groot's shoulder and receive damage reduction while he does it. I find a lot of Rocket players will either use this too much or not enough, and both cases are really bad. You need to sort of judge when it's a good time to use it and when it's not. As I mentioned in the ability section, dropping ult with the infinite ammo beacon for Bucky or Punisher can absolutely obliterate the enemy team. Also note here how I get away from the Star-Lord. I utilized my wall climb and my dash to hide in the corner so he didn't notice me walking past. As a healer, your first priority should be keeping yourself alive. In this clip, the fight didn't go so well and my whole team died, so it was time to run away. You should always be utilizing your wall crawl and jetpacking between walls to activate wall crawl, especially when running away. In this clip I managed to avoid all of Hela's shots and keep myself alive. A lot of the times when you're running away you're going to be low HP, so it's pretty important to heal yourself. You can see in this clip I'm shooting the heal orbs in the direction that I'm planning to run. This maximizes the amount of healing you'll get from each shot. Most of the time on Rocket it's better to wall crawl and save your dashes for jumping between walls. In this clip I tried to use my double dashes to get out and unfortunately got caught by the Thor because of it. What I should have done instead of using this second dash is to latch onto the wall to my right and ran inside the house instead. So that way I can use my second dash once I'm in the house to get away from Thor. I managed to use my dashes to get me to safety and Psylocke helped me clean up the Hela. However, I was still in a pretty bad situation. So rather than try and escape like many players would, I just sit tight, tucked behind the piece of cover while I'm healing my team. I see Strange backing up here and I thought this was my ticket to safety. However, Hela pops out around the corner and starts attacking me. So I use a couple quick dashes to get out of her way and hug behind cover again. Star-Lord just popped his ult, so I know I need to try and hide inside the house. I don't know which direction he goes or whether he knows I'm there, so I'm just hiding in a doorway waiting to see which way the Hela is going. I know the Hela only has one dash, so if she used it to get up here, I could likely dash down through the house and evade her. However, my whole team just died and I'm nowhere near my team, so I use some wall crawling around the doorway to get to safety quickly. This is a great way to use wall crawl and works in a lot of corridors in many maps. It's also a lot faster than walking, so if someone like a Punisher is following you who doesn't have dashes, you can evade them like this. Another tip with Rocket is to drop your E in the spawn room and allow everyone to pick up armor packs and jetpack packs. Something that's pretty interesting is you can do this as Rocket and then switch to another champ and everyone will keep their armor packs. Heal orbs do not stack in healing with Rocket, so the ideal way to play him is to have heal orbs flying near your ally as you're shooting your main weapon. This can be done a lot easier if you use terrain to bounce the heal orb back into your team. Another thing that I think it's important to note is that your ammo capacity for regular shooting and heal orbs is separate. This means you want to maximize the amount of effectiveness a reload gets you by using some of your main weapon and some heal orbs. But you never want to waste your entire clip using just left click or just right click. The main benefit to playing Rocket is he's really hard to lock down, especially for dive tanks like Thor and Captain America. You can do massive damage to them, especially if you hit your whole clip to the head. You can see here I completely obliterated that Thor who tried to jump on me. Never be afraid to peel yourself if you need to. After we captured the point here and I still had my respawn beacon up that I placed earlier, since none of my team died, I then desummon it so that way I can move it up. You can do this just by pressing E, and this is really useful because your respawn beacon does have a radius that it can revive people. It's not map wide. In this clip my team was trying to contest the domination zone, and the enemy team has a Hulk. To avoid him harassing me I stay high on this wall. You'll notice I seen a Hawkeye arrow go past my head, so I decided to stay a lot lower so that way I'm covered by the wall. I use wall running combined with my jetpack to stay airborne pretty much the whole time. As Hawkeye starts trying to peek around the cover, I stick closer and closer to the wall, even bouncing heals off it to heal my team. Hawkeye then pushes up with my team getting forced back, so my position is no longer safe, so I use my 2 dashes to get out of there and retreat to safety. In this clip I've just come back from spawn and the enemy team is trying to hold this choke point. I dropped the power up for my Bucky, which works really well at shredding through their Groot walls and Doctor Strange shield. With their shields down we can push into the point and take control. Rocket himself is pretty good at taking down Groot walls as well, so you should try and DPS them when you can. In this clip I was running away to deploy my beacon when the enemy portaled into point. I quickly dropped my ultimate as I knew the enemy team would be piling onto point and found my Bucky to drop my beacon on top of his head. And you can imagine what happened next. In this clip my whole team was getting low and my Doctor Strange shield just broke, so I drop ultimate to give my team extra damage if the enemy team decides to push in. This ult gives the enemy team two choices: try and push in and suffer the consequences of extreme damage from our team, or back up. In this case, they got wiped by the extra damage, and I managed to keep my Doctor Strange alive with my ultimate, where ordinarily they might have just pushed in and killed him. Rocket is really good at healing backline divers and people who jump into the action, so you should always be looking to heal people that are very far away from you. Take this Moon Knight for example, who took a 1v1 with the Peter Quill up on the house. He was losing pretty badly, but I was pocket healing him from a far distance, which allowed him to win. While healing your team, you should also try and shoot the orb in between multiple allies, so that way it heals multiple people at once. Take this clip where I'm healing like 3 allies at the same time. Group healing is one of Rocket's best attributes, and once you get good with this, you can also heal backline divers like in the previous clip at the same time by aiming your healing orbs so they first heal your team and then zoom off to the backline diver. In higher elo games, it's important to revive pretty much anyone that dies. But in lower elo, you kind of want to keep your main tank alive, and a lot of the time your DPS characters will be dying a lot. So sometimes it's useful to not place your E down and hold it for when your main tank gets low and deploy it on the fly. I didn't have footage of this because it's a rare occurrence that doesn't really happen in the elo that I play in, but in lower elos it's very helpful. So I thought I'd include it here anyway, but you get the idea hopefully. Essentially, you just want to drop your E when you think they're going to die or you can't out heal the damage they're taking. So it turns out I actually did have footage of this. In this situation, I was topping up my Venom when I realized my main tank took massive damage and actually died. So just before he died, I quickly dropped the beacon so he could get back into the action ASAP. This is really beneficial at this point because we're so close to spawn, so it doesn't really matter that much if one of our DPS dies. However, if our main tank dies, our push is over completely until he respawns. This is also very effective since he's back in the action immediately rather than spawning in some back room where you've hidden your beacon. However, you do have to be careful that they don't destroy your beacon before he manages to respawn.